The state of Israel has an illegal nuclear weapons program. They are not a part of the No Proliferation Treaty. They're not a member of that. They have an undeclared, unacknowledged nuclear program that is illegal. A guy named Mordecai Vanunu exposed this roughly 30 years ago. So don't sit there and tell me, oh, Iran can't have a nuclear bomb, blah, blah, blah. As far as I'm concerned, we pushed them to make a nuclear bomb. We have severed diplomacy. People gotta grab their nuts and say, you know what? I don't give a fuck if they got a nuclear weapon, because quite frankly, I will feel better with Iran having a nuclear weapon than genocidal fucking Israel. Hot take here, but I'll say it, because that's the other thing. Because he was saying, let's go back, because I really want you guys to hear this so I can juxtapose this.
You and I do have a difference, but it's really not okay with him. Therefore, you may have to fight. And the problem is then they get themselves into a thing. They don't want them to have nuclear, but then they say, well, we don't want to fight. Well, you have to do what you have to do. Maybe we won't have to fight. Don't forget, we haven't been fighting.
That's not true. We have been fighting. We've been shooting down their missiles. We've been supporting them significantly. We've been scrambling our fighter jets to shoot down missiles coming into Israel. We have been fighting.
We add a certain amount of genius to everything, but we haven't been fighting at all. Israel's done a very good job of that. But we'll see what happens. The bottom line is they can't have nuclear. And if I can't imagine that Ted Cruz said it's okay for Iran to have nuclear, including Tucker. I don't think Tucker says it's okay. The problem is then they get themselves into a thing. They don't want them to have nuclear, but then they say, well, we don't want to fight. Well, you're going to have to make a choice, because it's possible that you're going to have to fight for them not to have nuclear. And it's interesting, because I did ask Tucker, I said, well, are you okay with nuclear weapons being in the hands of Iran? And he sort of didn't like that. He didn't want to really, but he sort of did.
Why did he not like that? Because Tucker's still beholden to legacy media that's controlled by them boys. So let a real nigga give you guys the answers. I'm totally fine with them having fucking nuclear weapons, and I'll tell you why. Unpopular take, but let me go ahead and go through with it. Israel is doing a fucking genocide right now, okay? They have bombed systematically the Strip of Gaza for almost 2 years. They've killed well over 100,000 or 200,000 people. Right now, it's being reported as about 50,000, with about half those people being killed, women and kids. Gaza, before it was invaded by Israel, was literally 50% children under the age of 18. Okay? About 70% of the casualties in Gaza are innocent women and children. Okay? They're committing a genocide. They're committing war crimes. They're bombing hospitals. They're killing kids. They're shooting them in the head as they're trying to go get food. They're starving them, and they're not allowing aid in. Right? Professionals, genocide researchers, experts, to include Jewish experts when it comes to Holocaust historians, genocide researchers, all of them are in unanimous agreement that what's going on right now in Gaza is a genocide by definition. Now, let's add to that. The state of Israel has an illegal nuclear weapons program. They are not a part of the No Proliferation Treaty or the Proliferation Treaty. They're not a member of that. They have an undeclared, unacknowledged nuclear program that is illegal. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, they got nukes, like, how do you know? I'll tell you how I know. A guy named Mordecai Vanunu exposed this roughly 30 years ago, okay? That Israel does in fact have a nuclear weapons program, and a sophisticated one at that. Now, let's talk about how nuclear weapons work real quick. To manufacture a nuclear bomb, you could do it in one of two ways. You can either enrich uranium or use plutonium. With uranium, you're using centrifuges to basically process the material. And with plutonium, you're using a reactor. Those are the two main ways. I'm simplifying this because it's a very complex situation. I'm not a scientist, but I'm giving you guys the very simple way so you guys understand this. Two ways to get a nuclear bomb: uranium enrichment or plutonium, whichever one you want to use. Plutonium uses a reactor, uranium uses a centrifuge. Back in the 1960s, the CIA suspected that Israel was running a nuclear weapons program, and they were going ahead and doing some work with France. Okay? They went out to Dimona and they tested the soil. When they tested out the soil, they found that the uranium was extremely high. Something around 90% is weapons grade, chat. So when they tested the soil and they saw this pure uranium there, there's no need to have uranium that highly enriched unless it's for weapons. They brought this information back to Kennedy. Kennedy demanded inspections because he suspected that they had nuclear weapons. Now you're probably wondering, uranium in the 1960s? Yeah. You want to know where the fuck they got it? They stole it from us. At the time when this happened, there was only one country in the world that was having uranium that pure. It was the United States. And, namely, it was a facility called NUMEC out in Apollo, Pennsylvania. Okay? So, not only did they steal uranium from the United States, there's declassified documents that show this, by the way, where they systematically smuggled uranium out of this plant, destined for Israel, where they can conduct this stuff. They were obsessed with getting a nuclear bomb because the Suez Canal crisis embarrassed the fuck out of Israel. And Ben-Gurion became obsessed. Ben-Gurion was the first prime minister of Israel. So when you actually look at all the facts and you figure out that Israel's doing a genocide, Israel has an illegal nuclear arms program, Israel's not a part of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and on top of that, to make it even funnier, they shouldn't be getting aid from us technically because they've done illegal uranium enrichment and they've run a nuclear program, and there's a law in the books right now from 1978 where we're not supposed to give aid to countries that run illegal nuclear programs like Israel is. You start to realize that we hit peak fucking irony here. So you're telling me Israel, who's committing a genocide, who has an illegal unacknowledged nuclear weapons program, that stole the uranium for their nuclear weapons program from us, that's getting aid from us as they disobey us. You're telling me that they're trying to tell Iran that they can't have a nuclear weapon when Iran is actually on a non-proliferation treaty? When Iran actually complied with the JCPOA, aka the nuclear deal from 2015, where they were working alongside France and Russia to ensure that they didn't enrich over 3%? Now you guys want to come back and say, oh, well, we think that they got a nuclear bomb and it's a problem because they got their uranium up to 60%? Let me tell you something, dumb fuck. The reason why they got the uranium up to 60% is because you motherfuckers made them tear up the deal. So don't fucking sit there and tell me that, oh, Iran can't have a nuclear bomb, blah, blah, blah. As far as I'm concerned, we pushed them to make a nuclear bomb. Because we've been disingenuous, we've had bad diplomacy, and we've been fucking lying. And when they did come to the table to try to work with us, alongside a bunch of other countries, to come to a peaceful, amicable end, what did we do? We pulled out the fucking nuclear deal. Why? Because Trump and Pompeo, Mike Pompeo, are cucks for the Zionist fucking lobby. Mike Pompeo, just so you guys know, he was the guy that told Trump not to declassify the JFK documents. I wonder why. Because JFK didn't want the Israelis to have a nuclear fucking bomb. So let me get this straight. Pompeo forces Trump to get out the fucking nuclear deal that Obama established. Then he asks Trump to go ahead and move the embassy to Jerusalem. Then he puts the IRGC on the terrorist watch list in 2019. Then, when Trump wants to go ahead and declassify the JFK documents, he tells them no. Tell me that's not running cover for the Zionist lobby right fucking there. And these are the cold hard facts that none of these fucking retards can refute. This is why I embarrass Zionists anytime they try to tell me Iran can't have a nuclear bomb. Who the fuck are you to say that they can't defend themselves when you want to sit there and say, we have a right to defend ourselves? Cool. I actually think that Israel has a right to defend itself. But guess what? If you're going to go ahead and apply that metric that Israel has the sovereignty and the ability to defend itself, so does every other fucking country. And after all the bullshit diplomacy that we've exercised in the West, we got to take accountability. We have severed diplomacy. And the reason why we severed diplomacy is because we have a fucking outrageous Zionist lobby in America that does not give a fuck about American interests and wants to wage a war in the Middle East and be the only fucking nuclear superpower, and they want regime change. So when Trump asked Tucker that question, do you want Iran to have a nuclear weapon? People got to grab their nuts and say, you know what? I don't give a fuck if they got a nuclear weapon, because quite frankly, I would feel better with Iran having a nuclear weapon than genocidal fucking Israel. And you could take that to the fucking bank. Israel's committed far more war crimes, killed way more people, done way more fucking heinous shit than Iran has. I'm not saying Iran's a fucking angel. They're terrible too. It's an evil regime. But don't fucking sit there and virtue signal and say, the most moral army in the world, we're the only democracy in the Middle East. We have freedom of press. It's all a fucking lie. It's all a fucking lie. Democracy? Freedom? Israel is an apartheid, ethnocentric state that practices the very supremacy that they criticize other countries of having. And most Americans are too stupid and oblivious to know this. Israel got hit, their hospital got hit yesterday, or earlier this morning. Oh my God, they hit our hospital. But what they won't tell you is that Israel hit 3 hospitals in Iran this week. What they won't tell you is that they bombed the fucking Al-Shifa hospital and killed hundreds of kids. What they won't tell you is they destroyed 36 fucking hospitals in Gaza. Hamas is there, that's why. Every single time they do some fuck shit and they kill kids, I'm sorry, Hamas. They've killed aid workers, they've killed journalists, they've killed doctors, they've killed innocent people. Nobody died during the hospital fucking attack yesterday, earlier. But these guys have systematically bombed hospitals all across the Middle East. Not just Gaza, but they bombed them in Lebanon, they bombed them in Iran, etc. So for them to sit there and say, oh my God, they attacked one of our hospitals, after they attacked 3 Iranian hospitals this week, and they blew up every hospital in Gaza pretty much except for one, is fucking incredible. And the reason why they're able to get away with this is because people don't do their fucking research. So yes, in conclusion, I would feel much better with Iran having a nuclear bomb than Israel. Because unlike Israel, Iran didn't steal the uranium from us. Unlike Israel, Iran lets inspectors go check their nuclear facilities. Unlike Israel, Iran is a part of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Unlike Israel, they've worked with the IAEA before. So for Israel to sit there and say, yo, you guys can't have nuclear weapons when they're running an illegal nuclear weapons program is absolutely fucking comical. But again, most Americans don't know this shit. The history I just exposed for you guys is censored everywhere. You gotta go fucking to the corners of the internet to find it. There's a really good documentary on this. Go check it out. It's called Numek by my guy Ryan Dawson if you guys want more detail on this. I summarized it up for you guys very grossly. But this is the cold hard truth that they don't want you to know. So if anyone tries to sit there and tell you, oh, they can't have nuclear weapons, blah, 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 tell them just like this. Shut the fuck up, because Israel's doing a genocide and has nuclear weapons. Who do you think is worse? Anyway.